Welcome to Behind the Badge. This podcast aims to improve the health and well-being of frontline workers. Each episode features candid conversations with former and current frontline community members and subject matter experts. Join us as we explore the unique nature of serving in high-risk roles, sharing inspiring stories of resilience, strategies, and resources. We are not qualified health professionals, nor are we aligned with any organization. The opinions expressed in the podcast are solely our own. Additionally, the content may evoke strong emotional responses for some. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome back to Behind the Badge. My name's Josh.
I'm Jason.
How are you, mate?
Very well, thanks, mate.
That's
Looking
good.
forward to today's show.
Yeah, it should be a good one. It's very topical for our firefighters. We'll be talking about the big C, cancer, and how we can reduce that. Our guest is a former Victoria police officer, come paid firefighter. He's now producing decontamination soap to help address some of those risks that we face in our profession. So it'll be a good chat.
Definitely.
So it's our absolute pleasure to welcome on Dave Ridley.
G'day guys, how you going?
Good, Dave. How you going, mate?
Yeah, going well.
Excellent.
Going well.
Mate, what we like to do is just sort of wind it back a bit and get to know a little bit about you and I guess your journey through to this point. So if you don't mind, could you lead us off letting us know a little bit about your upbringing, your growing up, and then ultimately what led into firstly law enforcement and then coming across to the brighter side of life.
Side.
Yeah.
Yeah, seeing the light, as I'll say it. Yeah. No worries, guys. It's I guess it's sort of not much in the story of growing up, is it? Like I have probably the similar story to every fiery that you come across, in the sense that I grew up in Victoria. Down here, where you could be swimming one day and then in a jumper the next, but it's, you get used to it, I guess. But grew up between a coastal town here in Victoria and Williamstown, it was called, like a small town in a suburb, which now is really in a suburb, which is because it's been built up. But grew up playing footy just with the local footy club there, and then doing sort of surf, life-saving, surf Ironman sort of stuff on the weekends, or when I wasn't at footy, or down the beach where I can. And moving on from that is probably then went through school, just did all my bits and pieces through to high school, and then went on to university, which I still to this day don't know why I did that, but it's I went and studied marketing, and I think it was tourism management. And I guess the real push for that was around when I was at school, it was a big thing to say, like, well, don't get a trade. Like, trade is not the answer. And I think that attitude, I look back at it now and think that that's one of the worst things I could have done. That would have been a great avenue. You look at some very happy tradies at the moment. But, so I went through school, went through university. And I think the day I left school, I joined the Coppers. So the day I left the university, or finished up with my university, I joined the Coppers, and that was back in 2010. So did that, and then from there moved on to, basically that was working as a uniform copper in the city, and did all my training there, did all my learning, I guess, there. And then I got the opportunity to move out to a country town here called Shepparton in Victoria. So took that opportunity to move up there. And it was an interesting town, so to speak. It's how do you say it? Like, it was a town that was for policing. It was a good career move, which I'll let everyone make their inferences on what that that means. And from there, then came back down towards Geelong. Worked a bit of time in Geelong down here. Moved on, did some from there. Upgraded into doing sort of a command and control role with upgraded to a sergeant down here and went into the city working on a bit of the train line stuff. Was able to work during the COVID-19 at the hotel quarantines, Ring of Steel, did a lot of that with the frontline exposure. And from there, an opportunity came up to go and join our specialist squad or search and rescue squad, which essentially once you complete that and once you get that job, then you become a police diver, a rope technician, vertical rescue, bush navigation, floodwater as well. So I was able to work through the floods here in Victoria in 2020. I think it's 2021. I think if I'm correct there, work on that through there, and then saw the light, and that would see me out for about, I think it's close to 14 years of policing, and then thought the fireys came up, and so I thought maybe I'll jump across. And I'd been lucky enough to meet on some of our courses some of the guys that were from our high angle rescue course. That some of the guys from the fireys were on that, and they were just I guess the culture and the brotherhood that they spoke about was a real enticing aspect of coming across. So then did that, jumped over, and started with paid fire service. And from there, I suppose it leads into what we talk about a bit later on, I guess, but it's developing a company and now the founder of Smoke Soap, which is a decontamination soap for firefighters.
Yeah, awesome, mate. Before we do jump into the decon side of things and Smoke Soap, I'm just interested to hear at what point did you identify the police as a career path, and what sort of drew you to going to join the cops?
Yeah, I reckon it was, like I said, I sort of just did as I was told. I didn't know much about the world, I guess, when I was growing up, and you sort of go, hey, what do I do when I leave school? And some people had this brilliant idea and they knew what was going on, and I sort of just went, I'll go to university. And I worked in an office for about probably 12 months whilst doing that marketing degree. And I thought, there's no way, this is not for me. The four walls, just turning up every day, 9 to 5, there's got to be something else out there. And by that stage, I think I was about 21 or 22 at the time. And it was, was I too old to start an apprenticeship at that point? I didn't know, and I didn't really know which one to jump into. And then the coppers sort of just popped up in an ad or a commercial. But I reckon, and this is a bit of a blast from the past, but it goes back to Blue Heelers. I don't know if everyone grew up with that show, but, Mount Thomas Police Station had everything going on.
That was everything.
Was it Lisa McCune? Was that Lisa McCune?
Yeah, Lisa
it was
McCune.
Lisa McCune, yeah.
That was a common joke here, and someone would constantly talk about the jobs they'd been to, and I just said, what station were you at, mate? Mount Thomas. Like,
yeah.
How many jobs you been to?
And they had I think there was about 7 characters in it, and they had a full service police force there. Like, the detective, they had the bomb squad, they had everything in one station. So, and Tom Croydon, he seemed to run the show, and he did a pretty good job. So then I thought, hey, you know what, policing doesn't do too bad. And I've since found out that show was designed for that. Like, that's why the police had such an involvement with it, was trying to get in early, change that sort of police in schools type of arrangement, just to put a positive light on police for, I guess, a change.
Some police propaganda.
Yeah. That's why they allowed the a consultant on scene to sort of help out with what they can and can't do.
Yeah.
Well, it obviously worked. It got you through the door, so.
Yeah. Then that's right. And then I put my application in, went and did it. And I remember at the time I'd started taking up, I was doing a fair bit in triathlon too. And I still remember to this day my interview going in, and after about 15 minutes of laughter, they actually said, yeah, mate, well done, you got through, because they asked me about what I do in my spare time. And I said, oh, mate, I just run a lot. And I said, so I'm a bit of a dork. And they just sat there laughing. And then afterwards, they just said, yeah, well done, you answered enough of the questions. We'll get you a start date. So I was lucky enough to get in.
Nice job.
Yeah, awesome.
I find the old saying, things happen for a reason. How much has the marketing degree helped with what you're currently doing now with the Smoke Soap?
Look, you're right. It's definitely had a whole 360, hasn't it? Like, I've sort of had this whole career in the middle that, like, I can dive underwater and I can, jump off a cliff, but it's like, it's taken a full 360 back to, now I know what they were talking about. Yeah. And I think it's look, it's so long ago. That's the thing, right? Like, but I got to see a little bit of it. I understood what they were saying, and I think it's definitely given me a good foundation to work on.
Yeah.
By having that sort of that marketing background. Although I didn't work in it for very long, and it was a long time between drinks, but it was it's been a really helpful technique for now.
Yeah, nice.
I'm still trying to navigate. I guess I've never thought I felt old, but I'm still trying to navigate social media and trying to work out how to, I don't know, do a TikTok dance or something or other to try and advertise things. And I'm failing at it miserably, but it's good fun. Like,
Yeah.
I use my kids to help me. They can try and push me in the right direction.
Oh yeah, they know everything.
Yeah, exactly.
So any family influence, like anyone in the family, emergency services or first responders?
Not so much emergency services, but shift workers.
Right.
I grew up. My dad was a pilot with everyone. Like we was, I think, we started with TAA, then went on to Ansett, then into Qantas, and he was a pilot his whole career. And Mum was a flight attendant, which I know is very cliche, but it's it's one of those things that I think it's probably the shift work element that probably made an influence.
Yeah.
You know, when I was asking Mum and Dad for advice on stuff, they'd be going, yeah, shift work's great. You can go to the bank on a Tuesday. And I'm thinking, I've never been to the bank on a Tuesday in my life, but it was one of the things they said you could do. So it was just having that sort of freedom of not just Saturday, Sunday off.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, awesome. And mate, what drove you into the that sort of technical rescue, police diving type avenue? Was that also some clever recruiting, or is that something else that drew you into that?
No, it was a big thing of it was that I probably, as I mentioned earlier, had a bit of a background in like the surf rescue, and like started all the way back from doing nippers on the beach. And so really saw the element of it, of getting around the water, doing something within the water and using a skill set. I grew up in quite competitive swimming as well. And one of the selection criteria for when you go into it is you need to do a kilometre time trial to get in. And so I thought, yeah, you beaut, I can do this, and we can get in and do some of that stuff. And then I had a boat for a period of time. As anyone who has a boat knows, constantly broken down. And I'd go out diving and spend a bit of time on the water, but realistically, just the love of the outdoors, love being outside, love doing all that. And I said, well, you know, this is an option that's come up, and it's, you know, they're doing a selection for it. And I thought, well, why not try and lead that way and get involved, and I guess use some of those strengths that I could sort of see in myself to say, well, you know, can we go and use some of that? And I was probably at that crossroad of, as I said before, I'd upgraded as a sergeant, so I was starting to get in that line. However, you need to be at a other rank, they called it, but like a senior constable rank to go across. So I was sort of like going, well, do I go to the left or go to the right? And I sort of chose the selection criteria and went in and started to really enjoy it, and then got across there, which was pretty lucky. It's not a big unit. There's only 24 in the state of Victoria. And out of, I think there's like 17,000 coppers in Victoria. So like 24 in that unit. So pretty competitive to get into, which was another, I guess, an exciting factor. It's another challenge. And went across and got trained and skilled in a whole bunch of everything. I think, you know, you come out with a qualification of just 3 pages that just all these different skill sets you have, but definitely something that appealed at the time to sort of lay down, I guess, the policing aspect of it and pick up a few of those sort of skill sets, but while still doing policing.
And I imagine that it would have been a little bit of a shift from uniform policing to doing that sort of stuff. I imagine it's a very different sort of focus and mindset going into those jobs as opposed to, you know, working the street.
Absolutely. Look, it's one of those things that by all stretch, you have to be a police officer to be in that unit, but you're not really policing. You're not doing any enforcement whilst there. You're a skill set that the police require, and so they look after it in-house because they need to have that, I guess you'd say, that skill set in order to preserve evidence or preserve scenes or to rescue in an emergency rescue capability. So it was one of those things that it was definitely a slower pace, but in another way, it was a great transition over to the fireys too, because it was, you know, you weren't doing your 7 night shifts. You weren't having to respond on the van constantly. And make arrests, and then process offenders at court. It was all back to, you get to enjoy some of the skills you do, and then wait for jobs, essentially similar to how I guess you do it in the fireys.
Yeah, awesome. And did you have to relocate for that? Is that a centralised unit, or is it something you go and do your course and then you can go back to a outstation?
No, so I think it's a little bit different how the other states do it. I think in Victoria we have the 24-strong unit in Williamstown. Surprisingly, where I grew up, nothing to do with me being in Williamstown, but just happened to be in that area. And the only requirement for us was that we had to live within an hour of the station. So if we had to respond to something, we would be down there within an hour to turn out if we weren't already on site. So I didn't have to relocate. I was able to stay where I was, which happens to be down here in Geelong, which great neck of the woods, coastal town.
Through that process, you said you did some of your training with the fireys. Obviously, being a police officer, you would have had interactions with other services throughout, the myriad of incidents that you attended. But was that the point in time where you sort of considered jumping across?
Yeah, you probably, it was around, like, you come across firefighters, and as you know, that there's that now I've jumped teams, I can always say this, but there's that whole, like, I guess that fun rivalry with the, like the fireys and the boys in blue. And it was, we used to always make jokes and go, who wants to be a fiery? Like all they do is sleep. They don't do anything else. But it was one of those good things where you don't see them a lot being a frontline copper. Like, there's just not a heap of reason for us to be involved in active fire. We don't really, when I say we, I should refer as a police officer. You don't really go to them. You go to the aftermath. And by that stage, the fireys are all gone. They're back in bed. So it was, you don't see much of them on these courses that we would do. We would do cross interagency activities or interagency exercises whereby you would, you learn from each other. That you guys do it this way. Oh, yeah, we were operating this system, and how does that go, and what does it look like? And let's share expertise and have some guests on there. And then obviously in the downtime, you're still there doing some training down at Mount Arapiles, actually, down here in Victoria. And you're having a chat with them over drinks, or you're just having a laugh and talking to the boys afterwards. It's probably when you speak to them, just those one and two things that you hear as you go along that starts that brain ticking over, or the mind ticking over, and you go, oh, yeah, how's that? Yeah, that sounds all right. Yeah, that doesn't sound too bad. That's not how we do things. And so it's probably that is where the seed is planted. And then you sort of just start to think, oh, yeah, but then there's a lot of transferable skill set that comes across with it. And, they're on the courses that you're doing, and some of our guys were going over to their courses. So it was something that you sort of go, probably is where the seed got planted. And then you start to go, well, I think the conditions and the lifestyle and, the 4 on, 4 off, the roster, it's some of those things that you just go, the transition is a lot smoother, I think, if you look at it from that perspective.
Are you, so current shift rotation, 10-14?
Yes. Yeah, 10-14. Yeah. So it makes it really easy to plan things. And I think my wife's a lot happier because I was on a roster when I was at the police. It was basically 4 weeks in advance or 2 weeks in advance at any given time. So the 2 weeks you're working, and then they give you 2 weeks in advance from there. And trying to work that out and navigate that was pretty much just, I'm always available, and she just has to hold the fort, which she's a lot happier with, I think, at the moment.
Yeah, nice.
She can pick it up.
In that rescue team, were you guys ever responded with fireys and for the same capability, for like rescue capability? Because the service that Jason and I are in, they sort of own that capability, and there's no other, I guess, other services here that are co-responded with those same skill sets. So I'm just wondering if you guys would ever go to the same job together.
Yeah, so here in Victoria, we have what we call like the State Emergency Management Plan, and it allocates those roles to each different agency. So whether it's, your different agencies along the way that they get to deal with certain things. A lot of the time it would be around timing, like the speed at which you've got multiple stations that can turn out and be on site with the capability, or a rescue pod or whatever they're doing, is so much faster than we could do it. So where it would sort of come into a lot of, where our capability would come into a lot of, it was more of a recovery type situation. So therefore, then the fire is again, they've stepped off because you needed that police element in. Because once you've had somebody who's now deceased, you have to obviously have an investigation, or you have to have a crime scene preservation. And so usually with sworn personnel or a police officer to go down and do that, that's where the capability came in for us. So a lot of it would be around collecting of deceased persons, and in all those different aspects. So it sounds like it's a really fun job, and that it's all the glitz and glamour, and we get to do ropes and we get to do all this. But unfortunately, there's always something at the end of the rope, or it's at the bottom of a river, and that's where we came into it. So massive effect on mental psyche. Like there's a lot that goes in there, but you've got that old school mentality of, she'll be right, or I'm tough as nails. You don't show that. You sort of wear it and go from there. So great job, but comes with a lot.
Comes with its risks. And did you see, because of that, like turnover in that unit, or is it something that generally once you got in, you'd try and stay there?
The unit's pretty consistent. It's such a challenging unit to get into, and it's not as simple as just you jump out and jump back in. It's sort of like one of those things that you sort of, if you leave, you got to go through almost the whole process again to come back through. So a lot of the blokes that are there stay for a long time, and it's just whether that they enjoy doing it or not. That's I think where it comes down to.
Yeah, nice. Well, mate, enough of the policing stuff. Let's have a chat about that process of joining the paid fire service.
Yep.
How did that go for you? How did you find the transition? And on the back of that, where did the smoke soap start coming into play?
Yeah, a really great question, Josh, even the way you framed it, because it actually lines up all together. It sort of came together all at the same point. I guess it's sort of like, I know you just said enough about policing, but I'm going to talk about it again. It was one of those things, like it started in when we've got, as I said earlier, working at the front line during COVID. This was when the whole state of Victoria was basically put back inside their house, and we were out there in the front line, and doing hotel quarantine was essentially the tourism or the visitors to the country coming back through. And COVID was a very new thing. I mean, we all look back in hindsight now. It's like, well, this is, COVID's really manageable. At the time, it was almost like a sort of an Ebola. Like everyone was like, oh, everyone's just dying from it. So there is, the reason I make the nexus back to that was around the frontline exposures. It's not necessarily it doesn't align with the cancer per se, but it was those frontline exposure, and about going, the organisation came up with a way to protect us. And we look back now and think, yeah, it was all right, but I think it was lucky. It was one of those things that what we thought was the way to go. So a big part of that started me on this path, and having been in the police for a long time at that point was, asking the why. Why do we do that? Why are we? And then also probably looking after yourself a bit more, not just saying that the organisation does it. Like the organisation's a big beast, so it's quite intimidating. So you sort of start to go, well, hang on, is there something I can do to help myself in this area? Then you go into when I was into the diving stuff, into when I was going underwater, and we do what we call blackwater diving. I don't know if you're familiar with the term, so imagine scuba diving, which is usually great fun. You see the world and it's exciting, and then now put a black pair of goggles on almost, and lie at the bottom of a dirty creek and just run your hands through everything you can imagine sits at the bottom of a creek. And that's blackwater diving, and that's usually in areas where it's floodwater runoff, it is stagnant water. I remember we did dive in a dam, and same thing. And a lot of that was, again, around exposure to, I guess, hazards, I want to call them. And then the process for once you got out of that, or a decontamination process, was almost nil. There was nothing in it. It was like, just get back in the truck, you can have a shower and get back, sort of thing. And I even go to to the point where I remember asking someone, what happens if we put our hand into a syringe? And they go, don't worry, nothing survives on a syringe in water. And I go, I don't think I don't know if that's the right answer. Like, I think you might not know that. And so I thought, this is, again, that help yourself thing. You got to work out, what do you need to do to keep yourself safe? So then when I jumped across to the fireys is that we were in recruits, and going through recruits was good. The transition was really good. Coming across, like there's a lot of transferable skill there. So it was a lot about learning the process and making sure that you were able to meet the criteria to get into the fires, which is, I don't know how down where you guys are, but it's challenging here. There's a lot of very highly sought after position. But then we got into recruits, and during recruits, we all get this class and they're talking to us and they say, oh, we've got this thing called presumptive legislation. And, I'm there and I'm learned and I can't wait to hear about it and what's going on. And then you sort of find out that there's an approved, there's a law that basically covers you for an approved injury, essentially, which is cancer. And then you hear that there's 12 types of cancer or even more. I think they were up to 19 or something. Anyway, it came with different times and different. And you go, you're all approved for cancer and there's compensation allowed for once you get it that helps you assist in that process. And you go, whilst that's fantastic, you go, what's this we're talking about? And so I started to ask once again, I'm like, what's the why here? Why are we approved for that? What's going on? Is this that good? Like that we get it. So I started asking the why. And then I started to go, as I went through recruits, you're learning about those processes. And the organisation does a great job of making sure that we are protected as much as it knows how, or as much as it is presented with arguments for. And then you start to look and go, hang on, I'm seeing some gaps here. And you start again asking the why. Well, why are we getting cancer? What's the rate with firefighters? Firefighters, we're talking about the population gets 40%, the 40% of the population's likely to get cancer. Then you talk about firefighters have a 9% higher chance than the population of getting cancer. And then you've even got statistics in that say like 14% of the cancers we get are likely to kill us. So we're 40% higher chance of dying from the type of cancers we get. And so then you start looking I probably think this is where my path on the road to smoke soap came from, is that I started looking into this and going, so we're given great protection, breathing protection with our breathing apparatus. We've got PPE and we're running into environments, which we all want to do. We love the job. But why is that job that we love so much killing us? And how do we prevent that? And how do we work that out? So I suppose that started my interest in looking into what is the research around firefighting. And there's so much done. There's so much available, which is what's so great about it. And looking at where is left, or what's the opening is as to where are we still getting sick. Firefighters cancer is still as high as it's probably, well, I don't want to say as high as it's ever been, because we obviously know about things like mesothelioma and, that asbestosis, or commonly called. We're better at that now. We've got a breathing apparatus. We've seen advances in technologies. Through the research, you find out that, in 2022, IARC did a report on occupational exposure as a firefighter. And in the space of the report that was done was 10 years of findings was done. So from 2010 to 2022, they did a report and they actually increased our grouping of firefighting to significant evidence to cause cancer. So it's now a class 1, whereas it used to be a class 2A. And that was in 2010. So you think we're growing in our PPE and our advances in our knowledge are greater, but what are we doing with that? And why are we still getting sick? Why are we still getting, having things on us? So then you start to look and go, well, okay, so we've got our BAs and they're protecting our breathing. It can't be still coming through our breathe. Like, I don't want to say can't, but we look at our routes of entry, whether it's inhalation, absorption, or injection. And then ingestion as well. So like when it's like, and we're not all silly. Like when we talk about those, people go, well, who's eating the stuff? And you go, it's not as simple as eating. It's just that it's when it's contaminants are getting onto food and things like that going through our mouth and into our body. And a lot of the evidence that I was able to find was around that it's the dermal absorption that we go through. We're not going in our class 1 suits or our hazmat suits that, you know, are completely airtight and nothing's touching it. So we're going in with, in most places, a woolen flash hood that covers our head. We put our helmet on, which arguably those two things, they protect us from heavy things falling on us, but they're not going to stop any of the smoke getting through. And then because of that, you've got all the openings. So you start looking at a lot of those things that are how much is basically covering, getting onto your skin and staying on there. And then I started looking into that, and it's like, well, where is there a gap? Well, what's happening here? Like, where's the gap coming in? Because we've got these great decontamination sites that we're using our dermal wipes on scene after a job where we're washing down our contamination as soon as we come out of a house fire after being in that, inside the smoke and inside the carcinogens. And then we're doing all these things, and then we're looking to get a shower within the hour. They talk about or get showered as soon as possible, get those things off your skin. And it was like, okay, cool. So we're doing all this stuff. What are we washing in? And how do we wash? And essentially this was the questions that I started asking, and it came down to, all right, like, does the soap wash it off? Because I've just had to use these special wipes for some reason. Baby wipes aren't what they get. They, you know, they've got to be more dense than that. And you go, okay, so the soap, let's have a look for the soap. And so I started looking around, and there was nothing in Australia for soap. There was things you could get into Australia, like you could order it from overseas, and overseas it started doing some things in this space, but nothing in Australia at this stage. So I went down the process of the R&D phase and developing basically how to get a soap that's going to do something more than just make you smell nice.
So just on that though, we have been using it, and it does make you smell nice as well.
It's actually a really funny, like, it's a funny story, because I'm making all these phone calls in the R&D phase, and in a lot of ways this is an unheard of space in Australia, and I was sort of able to confirm that, because when I was calling around, because I'm calling people and I go, I need to make this soap, and the first part of that conversation was around, oh, you know, like I think I'm 6'3", so I'm going, oh, I'm a big burly firefighter, and I needed to decontaminate and keep us safe and make us tough. And then I go, but at the same time, also needed to make your skin soft and smell really nice. Like, yeah. Because it's like everything. Like, you know, there's the wipes. That makes you not want to sleep when you can smell that on you. Like it's one of those things that, like, that was a really interesting journey to go down. And then obviously from there, then I had to go and get it tested. And it's funny being a copper, because I almost got arrested in that process too, because it was around that whole, oh yeah, I want to cover someone in polycystic aromatic hydrocarbons. So what we'll do is we'll make a mix and we'll tip it on someone. And they said there's a small ethical issue around that you can't just jump the human trials. So I was like, oh yeah, cool, all right, awesome. So yeah, a few hung up phone calls, and I was waiting for the knock at the door, but never came. And I was able to find a chemical analysis lab in Victoria here, to take it on and test it for me. And they came back with some, really positive results.
That's awesome, mate. So, you know, hearing you run through that, first thing is I love that idea that, you know, yet we have these policies in place, that presumptive legislation, but acknowledging that that's reactive to an issue that we've got. And I love that, you know, you flip it on its head and go, well, what can we do before the fact? Like, we know that this is a known risk, this is a hazard, this is something that our population are dying from and getting sick from. What can we do on the front end to sort of address that? And, you know, for us, we've spoken to guests on previous podcasts, we take that same approach with, you know, being proactive, getting that education, and also taking a bit of accountability as well, particularly in the early stages before something happens. So I think that's a really, really great mindset to have. And on the back of that, there is policies in place, and there's decon procedures, as you touched on. That's, you know, the wipes and having a shower within the hour and all that sort of stuff. How did you get to the soap? Did you just have a look at what soap we were already using and then see that wasn't sort of appropriate or wasn't doing a good job?
I think it was around more so looking at what soap is available and what soap does. Essentially, not so specific to what the organisation was currently using. It was more around how do I find something how do I test it and then say, right, well, this is where I want to focus my sort of area on. And a lot of it was getting in and I guess you'd find like it's trying to do it, because one of the things is like, as you can tell from our conversation now, is I'm very new school fiery, like as in new generation. I've been in emergency service for a long time, but in the fire department is very new school. So I don't have any of those the badge of honors and those hangovers from the old school firefighting days when it was like, get soot on your face, get the dirty gear as a badge of honor and wear it with pride. So I've come in just going straight away to how do we make ourselves as clean as we possibly can? And yet how can we also, I guess our vision was like, how do we make firefighting decontamination as easy and efficient or as effective as possible without having to go through a decon station? This is something that is probably one of those things that you can do this every shift. And I guess when you talk about looking at those organizational practices or something, I always join this, and it was like, it's such I guess an emergency services attitude is like, okay, I've got a problem, but what's the solution? What do I want? What am I trying to ask for? Because I know there's nothing worse than when you have someone come in and say, I've got a problem, do something with it. Like you go, what do you want to do with it? And I guess that's where for, I guess my vision at Smoke Soap is that trying to get basically post-shift showers as part of organizational practice. That's what I'd love to see. And I probably would push, this is what I'm going to advocate around, is trying to get the decontamination soap, because during that IARC report, when they increased our level of group 1 carcinogen, it's showing that contaminations around fire stations is also where we're picking up a lot of these contaminants. These contaminants are invisible. I know there's a thing on my Instagram page that shows how small they are. Like we're talking that they live on a human hair, like they're that small. And it's the amount of time that they're on your skin is the amount that they're dermally or they're absorbing into your bloodstream, into your body. And then the other, I think when it looks at why I chose PAH to attack is the sense of the better word, or polycystic aromatic hydrocarbons. So they're a chemical that's released as part of a combustion. They're from everything. And the reason I chose to attack those is because they're probably something that's very well studied and we know about them, and they're hard to pick up in screening. So I think they've got like a half-life or within 8 hours or 8 to 10 hours. So if you go into a urine test trying to see how, what your pH levels are in your blood, they've already left your body within 8 hours. So unless you can get to a doctor and within that time frame, which realistically speaking is probably not going to happen for a lot of us. We're on shift, we said about 10 and 14. You're not going to get there within that time. So that was where the soap came into pushing that vision and making sure that soap's there for, if we can push to get an organizational practice to make it that we're having post shift showers, it will, I think it's going to be how we can tackle the issue and basically decon without having to set up decon.
Because I think too, one of the biggest issues that potentially we're facing at the moment is even our uniform underneath our PPE, draping that home and hugging the wife or kids or partner, or so there's that side of, or that education that we need to get a bit better at, and how we do that as well. So
yeah, it's such an interesting I don't even know the word I'd use for that. Like we know that we bag our external PPE, PPC, right? Like we will bag it up and we'll get rid of it because we go, yeah, no, that's got it on it. That's there. But like I said earlier, it's an invisible toxin or it's an invisible chemical. And we talk about that. We bag everything up and we use our wipes, but we're wiping whilst we're still wearing the same undergarments, or we call them comfies, that the station wear that we're wearing underneath our turnout gear. And then you take that home and, there's a lot of evidence around, there's things that are saying now, that our gear's off-gassing while we're sort of sitting in the truck. So you've got that issue. Now you're inhaling it. It's getting into your system through that. And then it looks at taking it home, like you said, putting it through your washing machine. One thing to understand with PAH or polycystic aromatic hydrocarbons is they're incredibly hydrophobic, meaning that they repel water. Water doesn't get rid of them, but it will smear them around. It would shift them, if it makes sense. It's like, so you can smear them, and then we're taking that stuff home to our families. And one of the thing is that they did a study in Arizona. I think it's Arizona. It's in the States. They did a study in 2020, and they showed the cancer rates of children of firefighters. It was a 9-year study they did there, and that they were basically 0.49%, so 27.4 times more likely than a child of a non-firefighter to get cancer.
Wow.
And that was something that, that study's published, that's available for everyone to read. And you sort of sit there and go, how are we taking this stuff home? Is it when we're putting our gear in our car, taking it home in a confined cab, and then people are coming into that contaminated area? And it was basically going, if not deconning for yourself, you decon for the other people in your life. And even when it's like we're saying, the badge of honor, big tough firefighter, decon because your family want you to come home, not necessarily just because it's for you. So
certainly another perspective on that, saying that your child is potentially that much more at risk at contracting that. I think that's hits differently.
And like you touched on before, let's be clear, I think the organisations have done very well in the years to get the PPE where it is. Going back when they used to just wear the coat, no flash hoods, But then again, we weren't dealing with, there was woolen carpets and timber, furniture, but now we're getting all those plastics and toxins and, synthetics, and a totally different ball game in relation to how fires are burning and.
You're exactly right. And I mean, I know they always show that during training, don't they? Like how our house burns in the 50s to how it burns now. And you're leading into a really good area that is like, as fast as our PPE grows, building industry, which is a separate industry to us, they're growing at the same rate. And so their glues are getting better. Their building materials are getting better. They're lighter. What they're putting in them is changing. The chemicals they're using. And so we're basically, when this IARC report that I talk about is, 739-page report, which is quite lengthy for some. I mean, I was reading it on my nights. I was excited by it, but it's one of those things that's going, as our PPE increases, so too does our carcinogens or our exposure or toxins. A really interesting one is with the batteries that we're.
I was just going to say lithium.
Yeah. Lithium, what that's letting off, it's still a new space as to what that's doing to us, and does our gear protect us from it? And like we know, like it's, you still smell like smoke when you come out of a fire. Like when we do our structural burns or our training burns, you come out and you still smell like it for 3 days. And that was something that was really big around developing this soap, was that how do we get rid of that smell? Because I don't think that smell is a good sign. Like it can't be. We've been in smoke. It's permeated everything we've got, and now we're still smelling like it. And then I started looking into that too, the research into that, and it's showing that they did a research paper that was showing that there's a 46% increase in PAH in urine of firefighters whilst they can smell that smoke on them. So you look at it and you go, it's definitely going through, and it leads into the way the body gets rid of the PAH once it's absorbed through the skin, gets into the bloodstream, goes out through the bladder, and then that's why we're getting those bladder cancers. And that's why it's such a positive, not a positive one, I guess, that it's giving such big results as to where we're getting the types of cancer we're getting out through the kidneys as well.
So, mate, smoke soap, what is the difference between that and, say, a regular soap? Why is it so effective, and how does it get rid of those PAHs?
Yeah, it's a great question, right? Like what it does is it uses the power of activated charcoal, and it's a really interesting, I think we've spoken today about a couple of 360 moments and going back from one area back to marketing and then coming to soap, and this is another one. So using activated charcoal, essentially like this burnt carbon, the stuff that we're going in to fight against, but when it's activated, it's heated slowly, and so that's what activates it, so it makes it non-carcinogenic and not a harm to humans. What it's doing is charcoal is it's called adsorbent with a D. It's not just me showing how bad I am at English. It's adsorbent. So absorbing means it's like a sponge absorbs water. It becomes one with it, right? Adsorbing is when it's basically just collecting or picking it up and sticking to it. It's not actually becoming the one item. And so what it's doing is charcoal's got these huge porous spaces on it that as it's washing over your body, it's collecting all those PAH, which we know that PAH is hydrophobic, so it's not interested in water, doesn't absorb with water. And it's picking them up and then washing those off the body. It's because the charcoal is not going to stick to you. It's surface area. They talk about one surface area of like a teaspoon of activated charcoal has the surface area of a football field.
Wow.
So there's a great video on our website that shows what that activated charcoal does at a molecular level to understand what you can see, what it's actually doing to actually collect these pH and these toxins to wash them down the sink, essentially get rid of them from your body, because that's where it's doing its damage. The longer it sits on your skin is where it's doing it. It's the most damage to you.
Wow.
I was reading the brochure that came with the soap, and the percentages were so high in relation to what's being cleaned, and so that in itself, just the data, it was comforting for me to go, well,
Yeah.
scary in a way that's what we're putting on ourselves, but the amount that it can take away was quite comforting, I suppose.
And that's essentially what I really wanted to achieve with doing this project, is that, I wanted to make sure that people have peace of mind. I never wanted to sell, this is this is just another version of a marketing angle, or it's just and that's why those brochures are so powerful. It shows, that we're getting between 88 to 99.4% in some of those cases. It tests the top 16 polycystic aromatic hydrocarbons, all different molecular weights. And even the biggest one was a really remarkable result, where it's down to, it's called benzoapyrene, and that's a known carcinogen to humans. And that's 87% that's removing, it's picking up some of those bigger ones and basically washing them off you. And we spoke earlier about it being invisible. So it's like when you're getting back to the station, or you're doing a post decon shower, you're washing in this stuff, and it's as simple as that, right? It's have a shower. That's what I really wanted to achieve with it, is jump in the shower, have a wash, and, get on your way. And that you're not taking that stuff home, but you're not covered in it. And then I guess not smelling like smoke is a real a novelty win in it, right? You don't have to smell like it for 3 days.
100%. Mate, you mentioned, you thought you might find yourself in a bit of trouble with the law through your, desired testing practices. You obviously had to readjust those. How did you go about testing it to arrive at those that data on the brochure?
Yeah, so what we had to look at is going, how can we test this in a way that is going to basically get close to the permeability of skin, but also make it legal so that we can do it without having to go to human trials and go through, as you can imagine, it comes with a huge task to try and get that underway. And we tested it on basically a piece of heavy duty cloth or fabric. So sort of similar to our turnout gear, something that was going to really latch on or have big porous area for the pH to sit into. And what then they did is they contaminated it. They spiked it with, I think it was 20,000 micrograms, or I'm not too familiar with the measurement of what it is, but they spiked it with a PAH formula or a compound. Then what they do is they leave that onto the fabric, and then they test it to show, yep, this is covered in PAH. Then what they did is they used smoke soap, which we'd sent them, and they then put it over the fabric, washed the fabric, dried the fabric, and then tested it afterward, and that's where we got the results. So we've made inquiries, and I've found out since, you can actually get pieces of artificial skin, because there's always that element that is oh yeah, but skin has more permeability, but you're not going to ever be able to catch, because skin's a living organism, right? It's absorbing all the time. You've got oils, you've got blood, you've got vasodilation, and this is where it comes into, even why we're getting sick as firefighters. Is I saw a stat the other day, which is that for every 5 degrees in temperature, we vasodilate 400% or something.
Wow.
Whether those statistics can be used solidly in sort of science literature, it's more that our skill set as firefighters is we go in and we're exposed to heat, and that's what our PPE does. It makes us really what would you call it? Like it makes us really gives us the ability to not or be exposed to really high temperatures, but we're also getting quite hot underneath that gear, as you can imagine. Like just sitting in the truck in it, you get hot. And so what we're doing is our skin's becoming so porous, we're getting all this pH on us, and that's what, again, coming back to the soap, is just trying to go, we're already so absorbent, we want to get rid of that stuff. Let's wash it off. Let's get it out there. And I did some more research just recently into the use of saunas around firefighting, which was really interesting. It was around that saunas have a lot of positive outcomes, I guess you'd say. And there's a lot of research behind saunaing and why it's really good for you. The problem is that if you've still got pH sitting on your body, like if you go in just after a fire because you think, oh, this is great, I'll sweat it out and do the rest of it, it's probably the opposite's happening. That you're really vasodilating your skin, heating your blood up, making your blood run faster. And for those toxins that you're flushing out, you've got to remember they've got to have come from within inside you. And so you're flushing them all into your body, doing the DNA cellular damage, and then flushing them out as they go around the whole cycle. So that was why something like a smoke soap was starting to show that it's actually a lot more important than I originally sort of built this for. And it was to start to get clean, and then we go about our business and do all those things that are really good for us and go for runs and things like that.
So with the, just so I understand, the smoke soap itself, obviously shower on the body, are you getting the same benefits from like using it as a detergent for washing PPE, or is it just more of a body wash?
So the testing's been done on fabric, right? So you can wash your clothes in it. I sort of don't advocate it as that, like I don't sell it, because it is it will bubble a lot. Like it creates a lot of foam. So if you go home and you stick 50 mil, which is the standard detergent size, into your washing machine, don't call me up and tell me that your house has been wrecked just because it bubbles so much.
Yeah.
Based on the testing, if you were to take your clothing home and fill a bucket of water and then cover that in smoke soap, well, you're just repeating the results that were achieved in the testing. So that leads into, like, I guess the big things that are happening at Smoke Soap and the things that we're looking into doing. I'm currently in the process of a laundry detergent that's happening at the moment, like behind, we'd call it behind the scenes, or with the research and development phase of just trying that. I've been through 3 of them, and I don't put anything out that I wouldn't, trust with my kids being safe from, or, keeping safe. So everything that I'm doing, I'm pretty rough on it, I guess you'd say. Like I hold the manufacturer to a pretty high standard when I ask for stuff, and the development phase is going really well. So that's something that you'll see released in a not too distant future, that will be a detergent, which is, it's not going to be designed around your big PPE, PPC turnout gear, because as we know, that stuff gets thrown through industrial cleaners and chemicals and comes back with that. But certainly your turnout gear, getting rid of those things that pH is what I focus on and what I talk about, because I've tested on that. And, that was all self-funded that I went out and got that testing done. I'm looking to expand into more areas like your VOCs and your benzenes, formaldehydes. Formaldehyde's a gas, so it's not necessarily doing as much with your formaldehyde, but if it's getting onto your skin, it's showing still that adsorbent quality. The adsorbent quality is not specific to pH. If you do your own research into it, then you look at what does it do in relation to your benzenes, your VOCs. There's still evidence to show that will work for that. I just don't talk about it because I haven't tested on it. And I want to really sort of stick to those really bona fide data results that this is what it does.
On that, you said 1 teaspoon is like the equivalent of a football field.
Yep.
So I imagine, your products are going to last a fair while, if that's the case.
It depends on how you use it. This is the thing. One of the things that I had to work with was when it was getting tested, it was at what level does the activated charcoal versus the soap still take effect? Because we're talking here and we're saying, well, charcoal's very adsorbent, right? So if you stick charcoal into a soap, doesn't that just absorb all the soap? And that was part of the testing procedure and the process. So it was saying that that's how effective activated charcoal is, really trying to highlight the benefits of activated charcoal. And basically what you're looking at doing is finding what level did it become really stable at within the soap product and able to be used. And then it comes back to, well, how often are you using it and what are you using it for? If you get to the point when you use it for a post-decon shower, just as basically every time you've been to a decon station or you've been to a burn, you go, I want to use smoke soap. That's fantastic because you're still getting that last bit of the puzzle and you're completing the decon. And it's doing it like one of the things we do. We say it's protection after the fire, and that's what we talk about in our branding or our slogan. Then if you're going to use it on the next basis of if you're going to use it every shift, it's still going to last you a long time. Like it's soap. Like I think we went out for breakfast the other morning and we paid $8 for a juice, and that's gone within the 10 seconds, and you've done it down. Whereas this stuff should last you, even if you're showering in every day. I think I've been going on here, it's like for 2 months or 2.5 months, and I showered in every day. So it does last you a long time. It's just how you choose to use it. And again, it's sort of, I want to advocate for making it part of the standard procedure that we go with, is that post-decon showers, that everyone leaving a fire station is having a shower. But again, that's everyone's choice. So I don't want to sort of take it off people, but it's if you want to use it just after a burn, it'll last you ages.
I think that's a great concept, especially in light of that data you were saying about bringing those carcinogens home to your family and stuff like that. If you can sort of blunten that effect with a simple shower and a specific soap, I can't think of too many people that would say, no, I'm not interested. Because I think people are just not aware of that. Like I've certainly, until speaking to you, Dave, I wouldn't have thought, like at the end of shift, get changed, go home. I would have never thought that I'm bringing that stuff home.
Yeah, sorry.
No, you're right. I was just going to say it's so simple. Like, to reduce that risk massively. Like, to me.
And that's right. That's the aim. Is like you just look at it and you go like, this job is great until it's not, right? Like it's. And I love that saying as much as it's sort of it's a nothing saying, but it's like this job's the best job in the world, and then it can all come down in 2 days. You go there, see, I'm going to my health screening today. Actually, like this is all the things. None of this. When I developed smoke soap, none of it was around replacing anything. It was adding to it. Let's keep adding. A lot of people and a lot of really clever, researched papers have produced things for us to bring decon systems into place. And I don't want to take away any of them. It's more that I want to add to them. And how do we make us safe going forward? And how do we reduce this back to we can be firefighters and we don't have inherent risk with it. It's something that we can all enjoy and keep doing, which is what we want to do.
Yeah. No brainer, really.
Yeah, 100%. And I like, that saying everything's good until it's not. I guess in this case, more often than not, it seems to be a death by 1,000 cuts thing as well. You don't seem to get sick from your second shift. It's those exposures over and over and over again, like across the span of your career. And like you said, Jace, it's simple and it's such a small action to sort of put in place.
You're going to have a shower anyway.
Yeah, exactly right.
So just do it at work. Yeah. Save water at home.
Exactly right. Yeah, there's always the upside, silver lining, right? Like it's, and you're 100% right. It's like you basically just, if you can do those things on a system, and a big thing that I wanted to take out was personal judgment. One thing that when I say personal judgment, I should explain that. One thing that I've found as we go along, there's a lot of people, oh no, I didn't get close to that car. No, it wasn't too close into that fire. Nah, she'll be right. She'll be good. And you go, so these contaminants have been shown to have effect on people all the way up until the curb, right down to the gutter of a house that we're talking about. They're carrying in the smoke itself because they're attaching to those things, and then the smoke is so light, so it's aerating and obviously moving along. So it travels, this stuff. So you're never quite clean, and we choose to do that. And then it's like, I always say this is like with our VOCs VOCs are exposed everywhere. It's not just in firefighting. Like a really big one, and I know I'm going to, I think, probably shatter a lot of people in this next comment, but The new car smell. We get into the car, we're all really positive about it, right? We love the new car smell. The new car smell is a mix of VOCs that has been released from the plastics and the glues in a new car. So that's the stuff we're talking about we need to wash off. So the general public do get exposed to VOCs and PAH as well. But what it's coming down to is it's coming down that we expose ourselves to it a lot more. So, yes, it's a little bit more work. Yeah, we have to shower at the end of a shift, which we have to do anyway, like you said. But we're also choosing to expose ourselves to these things a lot more than the general punter is.
But I'm sure if you spoke to anybody that's, received that unfortunate news of a diagnosed cancer and the simple thing was to have a shower after shift or, I think those people would be saying, just do it. Like, just like you say, nothing's a problem till it's a problem. And you skate through your life or your career thinking, it's not going to happen to me. And let's hope that is the case. But it's just a simple action.
Yeah, you're right. And where I sort of found that it was really effective way to sort of slip it into the mix here is that, so even if you are going to those things and people have those attitudes, because I look at everything and you can't change everyone in a day. If people are still having the attitude or the personal judgment, oh, no, I didn't get dirty. I'm not going in. I was away from the smoke. I didn't have this. You go, that's cool. And you might think that. If you throw a post-shift shower in, well, we're now reducing the amount of time that the PAH has sat on your skin or the compounds have sat on top of your skin. You're washing them off at the end of your shift. And so therefore we've just brought back all of that time, haven't we? Because you haven't gone home with it sitting there for 2-3 days, or when you get home, you're washing with soap. We know soap's not effective. So there's only other one way to get rid of it, and that's to absorb it. And so that's why the testing results came back. I still think that I probably celebrated pretty hard when I got the results back. I was pretty happy with how that went, but not because it was thought, oh, great, I'm going to launch a soap. It was more going, this is great. This could be revolutionary, that we find some stuff that is basically going to hopefully prevent these cancer rates in a job that we all love.
So speaking about your test results and things like that, were there any, or did you do world sort of wide testing? And in that data that you received, was there any fire services across the world that were more prominent than, say, a little county fire station, or I'm talking FDNY, or was there any countries that were more prominent with the higher cancer rates?
So with the IARC report was really valuable, and it's basically being able to accumulate or collaborate all of that data into one area, which is where they've got that data from. The IARC report was not done on just Australia, like it's not from that. It's 25 scientists from around the world representing 8 different countries. And they included the States, they included Canada, they had Netherlands was on there, Australia was on there. So it was talking about all the real challenges that you have with all of that is that, does everyone do the same decontamination process at the same period of time?
Yeah, right.
Is everyone bagging their gear, wetting it down prior to going on? Like some of the fire stations in the States, like Philadelphia, I think it is a really big one for decon. They're not only just washing down their people, they're soaping them and scrubbing their turnout gear as they're coming out of fires. So they're trying to basically wash them down in another phase, like wash them down early, do this, and then they put them, they have the same process of use your dermal wipes, jump and get into a shower within the hour. So I don't have anything definitive on, they used, I think, just the data from every different fire station or fire service and put them together to then come up with, so where are the cancer numbers coming from, or where's the carcinogens or the toxins coming from, and what do they look like, and how's the decontamination fixing that? So, and then, like I said earlier, the challenge you've got in it, those glues and the building materials that we're going into now, they're only as good as the study that we do. Cancer's a really long process for cancer to develop in a lot of stages. But even in the States, they're starting to say now that it's not your 10-year career firefighters that are talking about cancer. It's at 5 years, at 6 years, just the level of exposure. Are you at a busy station? How many burns are you going to? You know, are we sort of taking it as a badge of honor to get as close as we can to the fire and get in the smoke, because it's a rite of passage. You know, we want to get dirty, and that shows you're really, you know, not afraid of fire. And you go, yeah, but this stuff doesn't matter how tough you are, it still comes for you. So,
and that's what I guess my point, or trying to get at that, you know, you think of that, the firefighter and what that looks like, and the first thing I think of is that fiery over in the States that's full of charcoal and the faces, you know, soot everywhere, and the big moustache, and it's just a walking, you know, hazardous material job, really. But yeah, wow.
Absolutely. And there's so much out there, right? Like there's so much study that's being done, but it's even things like we're talking about now that it's not even at fires. You know, fire is I guess it's, when we talk firefighter, we talk at a fire, which is good, but we're talking about now, like, you know, like I know that when we're outside the fire, if you're controlling the appliance while you're in a fire, you know, you're getting covered in diesel particulates.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then we're going into fire stations and we've got diesel particulates coming in, and they've installed exhaust fans, which is great. But again, do they go on every time that truck started? And then you've got an engine bay that's attached to the fire station, and then you talk contaminants, and they're now finding out the research around diesel particulates is showing that you know, there's carcinogenic effects. And, you know, it's also that, does this then mean that once you leave the fire service is when you get something like you get terminally ill, or you get some illnesses as a result of your job? And it's basically, can we reduce that? We go in, we put ourselves at harm's way, we want to do it, but can we make it safer for ourselves?
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I like that it's accessible and it's available at a personal level too. So like some of those things you mentioned there, Dave, are like they're organisational wide things. And as you said before, like no, you know, this is not a negative on any organisation, but, you know, they're big, complex organisms. And, you know, it's great that they put an exhaust fan in and all that sort of stuff, but it's nice to be able to have a product or an avenue or something that you can access at a personal level, you know, easily and relatively affordable to protect yourself. And that way, you know, you're not waiting for someone or something to come and fix that problem for you.
Exactly. And that's what I said, like very early on, just going like, you know, you need to look at how do you help yourself. The organization will help you to a level, but you can do it yourself, because at the end of the day, you've got the worst news if things don't go so well for you. And this is something that you can do to say, right, all these things are great. I'll just keep doing this. I'll wash particulates off me. I've got something that I can get that will do it. You know, we've got science behind to say that it does actually wash particulates off. And if that's what the evidence is saying, that is causing us to get illness or get sick in the fire service, then we're able to do that. And that's something that you shouldn't wait for somebody to tell you that they're going to do it for you, is that you go, you can do it today. And I really wanted to maintain that integrity when I built this, is to say that the average bloke or anyone from the fire service can jump on and just purchase, and we'll send it straight to their door. You know, and it was really like, there's one of those heartwarming stories that we had a family that volunteer fire service down here, and for Christmas she bought basically some of our packs and some soap for her 2 children and her husband, because she's the safety officer in one of her fire in her shed. So she bought those, and I thought, this is exactly what I built this product for. And, you know, like, I'm not building it to get rich. I'm a career firefighter now, so I'll be in it for the long haul. It's like, it's one of those things that's the stuff that I wanted to do, is be able to give people an option.
So on that, mate, I think moving forward for you in this is great what you've got, but I'd like to see perhaps a hair enhancement additive to the gels to assist with the old fireman forehead.
Yeah, I think that'll make me come
is that
to
coming
the
soon, or
yeah, the real snake sales elixir, right? Like I'll get a caravan and I'll drive around selling you.
Tell you what, that will make you rich.
Oh yeah, you'll be rich.
Yeah.
I'll buy it by the gallon. But you know, you look at all the canteens across the fire services, you know, probably around the world, and it's nothing to spend $40 on a bag of coffee, because we got to have that coffee in the morning. And you know, so this, look, like I said before, I think it's just and it's a relief for me. I'm hearing it now. Obviously, read the brochure, and until you speak to the person who's putting it out there to get that further in-depth information, I'll walk out today with that sense of relief, and to the point where I wish I've have known about this. Well, it was not around obviously, but years ago, where my daughter was young at that stage, and to potentially reduce all that risk, but never too late for anything. So.
Yeah, that's right. Like it's really rewarding when you hear it. We were coming back from a job the other night, and I turned to the guys in the back of the truck and said, "Hey, just out of interest, knowing that you've got this stuff back at the station, like we're driving back, everyone's dirty essentially, and we've done our decon process, which is a great process. But I said to them, do you find do you find it nicer to know that like you're going back and you've got this stuff that's proven to do something?" And they were all like, yeah, it's awesome. Like I'm going to bed, I'm not smelling like smoke. And even like you look at that, you're then going to sleep in it. And if you still smell like smoke, it's still evidence showing that it's still on you. And you're talking going, well, now it's in your bed. And now it's, there's a great video that's a university conducted of, they use the dye that's in, you've seen that one?
Yeah.
It's so a great video. Isn't it? Yeah. And it's one of those things that you go, I get it. In that video, they don't do any decon, but the purpose of the video is just to show how much it can travel.
Yeah.
And like you said, there's a great scene. There's two great scenes that really stuck out with me. Is one, the guy's lying down on his bed in his room, and it's all over his bed, but then also throwing the ball with his kid, and it's turning up on the kid's hands. And you think, we chose to be firefighters, they didn't, and it's one of those things that going, if for nothing else, or even look at the mesothelioma, they're saying now that a lot of the wives of the guys who used to work with the asbestos were getting sick because of the laundering of it.
That was going to be my next comment. We went and conducted a what we call a safe home, or basically a go and offer a free service into houses and talk about smoke alarms. And I remember talking to an elderly lady. She would have been late 70s, early 80s, and her husband worked for a massive company with all the the asbestos, and she had that from washing his overalls, and she's walking around with oxygen every day. And I just thought, here's this poor lady keeping the house tidy and that for the husband to come home from work, and she ended up with, that pretty awful disease. So that
really sad.
Yeah. Just
that
from
collateral
washing,
damage.
Just from washing his uniform,
Yeah, chose to take no risk at all, and yet she's the one that bears the result of it, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, it's wild. And that's why this is so good. There's that interjection point there. You can just clean up before you go home. Mate, if someone, is listening to this and it's sort of resonating with them, how do they find Smoke Soap? How do they buy it? And what sort of products do you offer, and how much are they?
Yeah, perfect. So first of all, if you ever want to jump on, it's I've been working a lot with Google to try and get it so it pops up. But yeah, just Google Smoke Soap, or our website is just www.smokesoap.com.au. We've got a whole online shop there. You just go through, select what you want to select. We've got some other toiletry bits and pieces there. We've got our smoke soap itself, so it's in a liquid form. We've also got the bar form, so the smoke soap in a bar format, which for some people, they like it better. I mean, it's great. I love the marketing of it because it looks like a lump of coal, and it's awesome. Like it's, again, a lot of work went into that. Like I think I almost washed my fingerprints off trying to test this stuff, right? And so it comes in a soap bar, which the soap bar is 100% natural. It's all natural product. If people wanted to go down that line that they really don't want to have any chemicals on them, the liquid soap, it has the sodium lauryl sulfate. So what's in soap now, but it's also, I can't claim it as a natural, 100% natural product. So the liquid soap's great for your gear bag and your turnout gear. The other thing we sell is we sell a full range of silicon bags. So we've got like our toiletry bag, we've got our silicon scrubbers. The reason being is they're microbial. They don't hold any of the carcinogens. You can wash them with smoke soap and it gets rid of anything that's on it. So it just all feeds into itself essentially. So some really easy stuff. You can order it there. So it'll add shipping to you there. And I'm always trying to work on how to reduce and get rid of shipping if I can. So I'm working in that space. But it'll just turn up at your door, as simple as that.
What sort of price, mate, are we looking?
Yeah, so for a bottle, so 350ml bottle of it, it's $17 for a bottle, $14 a soap bar, and then obviously you go into the other stuff. We sell a welcome package, which I think is around $49, and that has it's got your toiletry bag, a scrubber, and a liquid soap that goes with it. So it's sort of like a little decon, I guess like a decon toiletry bag, which you can just throw around. They're awesome. They're completely waterproof. They as I said, they're microbial, so they wash off. You just keep it in your kit bag, and it basically you can't go wrong when you need it.
Oh, that's
super affordable. I'm thinking like at the station, even if not for yourself, a couple of people could chip in and
canteens should be buying.
Yeah. You could have just a shared supply at station, whatever. It's super affordable.
And like you said, Josh, the same thing the other day is like, it's how you're not using it. You're using this every day and you're washing in it. You're not using it in a day. It's not, you don't get this soap and you go in one time and you come out, there's nothing left. It's like it probably will be if you leave it in the shower. Like I've seen a few bottles go in the shower, so they just get used by everyone inside. But No, so super affordable, super easy.
Yeah, well, I can. You'll be seeing an order from me, mate. I'll be buying my shift one for sure. So
yeah, awesome guys, appreciate it.
Yeah,
mate. On that, so you mentioned you're looking into like laundry detergent. Is there anything else on the horizon for smoke soap, or is that enough at this point in time to keep you busy?
No, so like we're basically like you'll see behind me. This is sort of like our sort of product inventory wall, and this is where I sort of come up with ideas, which is usually when I'm supposed to be sleeping at work. Really, like I probably should be looking at more shut eye, but like I don't know if you can see in the background here, but like we've got like our it says just deconned on the back of a t-shirt. Yeah. So the aim of it is trying to basically affiliate with a charity for firefighters cancer. And that space is still evolving. So that's where I'm not making any big announcements right now, but that's where that space is, and selling the t-shirts, but also trying to use it as a reminder. Like I wear this at the end of every shift that I do, and I jump into the shirt. It says just decon because I've had a shower and I've used smoke soap. And then it just reminds other people. Mm-hmm. That was the whole thing, is that like someone goes, oh, what's that? And, like, I get it. Like firefighting gear, right? Everyone's selling it. It's like one of those things that like, who wants to buy it? But this is more just, can we put a visual reminder out there that just says, oh, yeah, hang on, maybe I should jump in the shower before I leave, and just basically not putting it to the side. Like we talk about mental health now a lot in fire services or emergency services. It's a big thing, but still the cancer and the getting sick, we just all put it to the side and never speak about it. So it was sort of a way of basically coming up with that. We've got our new bottles coming out. Like that was a big project that just the new look bottle, which that will be a really big thing. Like it's a nicer look. It feels nicer. It fits better in the bag, much more user friendly. And on top of that, just the laundry detergent at this stage. We've signed up now with a couple of distributors too. So again, making that more accessible and the product more available. Two of our distributors now, we've got Esker Australia, which they currently do firefighting. I think they have firefighting gloves that they already talk about with their distribution. So that makes it available up towards Queensland neck of the world, and he services most of Australia with that. And then we've also got over in WA, ARG, so Australasian Rescue Group. And they're one of our distributors over that side that basically they're getting into the mining industry and sort of trying to push this to them as well, to get the mining industry, or anyone that's exposed to carcinogens or anyone that these toxins, basically, to get them off your skin.
But I mean, sorry, mate, Dave, for cutting you off.
No, go, that's all right.
I was just going to say, I've spoken to a few of the airport fireys in recent times on different matters, but the cancer rates in airport fireys is high. And, that's clearly they're not going to fires every day. So there's something that's potentially happening down there, whether it's the fuels or whatever. But how many people work on a tarmac? and exposed to jet fuels and.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, that like the pH is the product of combustion, so it's one of those things that like it's coming from the burning of fuel. Essentially, it's still in the air, it's in the atmosphere, and they're working around the airport all day. Then there is also a line that where eventually, just given the effectiveness of it with the smell of smoke, we were looking at eventually we might look at pushing towards a bit more of a mainstream type thing where just for use around your campfires and your type things like that. The laundry detergent's going to be a big one that I think people are going to really resonate with, to sort of go, oh, this stuff gets rid of my stuff. Like it gets rid of the smell out of my clothes, which is awesome because you don't have the smell, but it's actually a health thing, right? Like we know it because we probably get exposed to it a lot more than just your weekend camper, but that would be another space that we could look into working with.
I'd love to see in that space, maybe, truck wash or the decontamination side of the appliances, and how many times have previous crews gone to jobs and they pull up in the engine bay and just go, well, these guys had a burn tonight or today or whatever, it sits there for a tour as in the smell. Of course they get cleaned, but it's quite prominent.
It's one of those things as well. Like we spoke about the roots of inhalation, or sorry, the routes of entry to the body, about how they do it. And you talk about ingestion. I sort of made a joke about we don't eat it, but it's the thing is you can control yourself. And I always like to say this. I say this to my kids all the time. I said you can't control what other people do. You can control yourself. And you might be really good with your decon and you might be really careful and, don't take things inside. And, we all have turnout areas that we keep our gear in, but you might get someone who's pretty complacent with it and just goes, nah, don't worry about it. Nah, I'm right. I've been doing this for long enough. And before you know it, we're all using the same sponge in the sink at work.
Sitting on the same chair.
Yeah. We all share beds, right? Like I know we put different, we put covers down and stuff like that, but those rooms, has someone walked in there who hasn't been as complicit? And again, it's where we go back to, take care of yourself, jump in the shower if you ever need to and shower. And I mean, like there's no limit to how many times you can shower if you want to, if you want to use it, it'll still work. But it's just that thing going like the contamination's always there. And they talk about this in the IARC report, that the reason the cancers are so high is through those contaminated areas. Like you said, you jump in and our BAs, they still smell like smoke. The whole truck smells of it. And further to that, like I said earlier, like, product of combustion is where it's coming from. Yeah. And that benzoapyrene that I spoke about before, being the carcinogen that's in the pH there, it's really prominent or prevalent in bushfire. It's a product of that. People think, it's bushfire, I'm outside, so it's all good. And it's like, it's just as dangerous. Yeah.
Then throw in the mix everything that's in that bush, plastic bottles, containers,
heavy metals. Yeah, exactly.
Mate, it's, revolutionary, I think. What would you say to people, that may be out there with that attitude of, well, potentially I've been in the job X amount of years, the damage is probably done. Like, to me, using it now, what I'm getting at is it's never too late, right? So,
Yeah, so I think the beauty of it is that you go like, it's not about how much or it's like it's not about how much you've been exposed to as much as it is when does it actually get come and cause you a problem.
Right.
So we know that the breakdown is that when it gets absorbed into the body and then circulates around, it's the DNA damage. The younger you are, the better you are at fighting that DNA damage off. And as you get older, is that the cellular regeneration starts to slow down.
Yeah.
That's what is called aging, right? It's so what happens is you might have been in firefighting when you were really young or the last 10 years and things have been going well. But as you get older, that parable, that metric's changing now. You might not be as efficient as fighting things off. So it's sort of going, like you're saying, it's never too late, but it's also going, you never know when it's coming up. Yeah, so if you know that you can do something about it, why not?
Good point. Sold. I'm buying it.
On that, the other thing I think about, we've sort of touched on it, I guess, throughout, and I'm looking at that shirt in the background there, Dave, and I think that's what you do is a great example of of leading by example. So, we've spoken about maybe those guys or those cultures or perspectives like, I don't need to do that. But if you take action and control of yourself and you're leading by example, I can't help but think other people will jump on board and go, oh, well, he's doing it or she's doing it, and it's super easy and quick, and why aren't I doing it as well?
Well, what was that? One of our guests talks about that almost like the span of control. It takes 5 positive people to influence 1 negative, or have I got that around the wrong way?
Oh, I can't remember,
Yeah.
mate.
I know what you're talking about, though. We had during training, and this is going to cross a few, like I'm blurring a few lines whether I say this, but I can't remember if it was in the police or if it was in the fire service, but it was there was this video, and what they talked about is how to affect change, right? And it was talking about leadership and how to basically change a culture by leading by example. And the video it was showing was this bloke at it was a festival or a concert like type thing, and he's standing out in the middle of this festival, everyone's sitting down around him, and he's up there, and he's probably affected by more than alcohol, I really think. But
at a festival, come on.
Yeah. He's dancing, and he's just looking like a right royal, like, he's having the time of his life, but he's up there dancing, and everyone's looking at him just sort of going, oh, yeah, what's this guy doing? What's this happening? But then 2 more jump in, and then 3 more jump in. And before the end of the video, there's a mosh pit, and everyone's having the time of their life as well. And so you sort of go, it's how it changes. And if you start, like you're saying, with a T-shirt, and I'm just reminding people, I'm happy to cop the stick for it for a little while, and everyone says, stop wasting all the towels and, carry on.
Yeah.
But it's eventually when you see a station doing it and you become the black sheep because you don't, you're not doing it. And that's what I want to push for organizational change. It's a measurable, I guess it's a metric that you can do something with. You can talk to the organizations, or you can talk to people. You can even just go down to your level and go on my shift. Hey fellas, you know what? We work together. Let's all get behind this. Yeah. Let's do it. Make sure we're good to go. And then the other shifts hear about it. And before you know it, everyone starts to get that sort of group mentality that's like, oh, geez, I don't want to be left out of this. So I'm going to do it as well. So, and that was part of the T-shirts is once we affiliate with that charity, is that the T-shirt, the sales of the T-shirt will be to affect that change, but that will all go back to a charity. It won't be for me to make any profit or any money from selling T-shirts. It's purely just to sort of have an idea and have something that people can tangibly get on board.
Yeah, nice, mate. Good job.
Awesome, mate.
Yeah.
Mate, thank you so much for your time today, but thanks for going down the rabbit hole that you've gone down as well, because it sounds like a substantial one that's taken a fair bit of time and energy and investment from yourself, but certainly well worth it. And it sounds like you're going to have a lot of positive influence in this space. So thank you very much.
Yeah, awesome, guys. You're obviously more than welcome, but thanks for having me on, and I enjoyed having a chat.
No, it's been great. Thanks so much.
Looking forward to the news coming out about the charity stuff too.
Oh,
mate.
I thought you were going to say the new hair gel that gives you hair.
That's not a problem for me yet.
What was it? The elixir. I've got to get the elixir out to
I won't take my hat off. Seriously, mate, thanks very much. It's awesome, and it's really, as a station officer, I feel I have a responsibility to look after my crew. I mean, there was an old saying once that you just don't want to get your crew through that job. You want to get them through their career and into retirement safely. So, easy step to take.
Yep. Awesome. It's really positive. This is the influence that I was looking at, like sort of having is, I know it's all at a very micro level, but I'm happy. Like I sort of just turn up, like we said earlier, like I'm happy to turn up to work, do my shift, have fun and hang out with a great group of guys who, unfortunately, as we know, like we don't want to see any of them lost to this sort of illness just purely through our career. So
that's right. And the scary part is I'm pretty much to speak on all 3 of us here. We've all known someone or know someone who's either going through it right now or has succumbed to it. So it's, very topical.
Yeah, good. I mean, not so good on that space, but, you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
It's creating conversation and there's things out there that we can do. That's what we want.
Yeah, and it's sort of one of those spaces looking at. You know, there's this company in America that's doing at the moment, talking to people who've been affected by cancer.
Mm.
And I think one of those things that we can get quite insular, just going to our shed and our station, or
Yeah.
we can get just that we only see, you know, the 28 or 30 guys or girls that are working at that station. And this company that does it, and as I grow, I think that's part of where I want to head towards, is having chats with those people that have been affected by this job, so it puts it into perspective, and it is a reality, so that people can see it firsthand, and almost like the t-shirts, like, you know, it is a bit loud, but it's one of those things that is, can we affect change by people being aware? You know, like, it's one of those things that we talk about mental health, and we want to be aware of all of our mental health and really bring that into the spotlight, but we seem to just put it to the side with stuff that is something that is so damaging when it does hit.
Oh, mate, so exactly the same. Mental health or this topic, awareness is one thing, and that's really great to be aware, but we need to have those relatable, actionable things that we can, and tools and strategies that we can do to help, you know, build the resilience or guard against whatever that risk is. And that's why, you know, I personally think it sounds like a great product, because it's all of those things that we can address it with. So, yeah, 100%. Awareness, one thing, but being able to do something about it is
Proactive.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. And like, even further to it, if you get a crew together, or there's people that you like, as in from station perspective, any of your listeners that are coming out, that they want to get behind it and try it, like, we've got some sample bottles that we I think they're sitting around somewhere. That's we've got sample bottles that we can get out to people. You know, like, all I'd ask is people cover the cost of postage when I send them out, just so that it's not costing me the sample and that. But it's a chance for people to get to try it, get to see it. Like you guys said, it smells great. I worked so long on finding that scent. It was something that was so hard. You know, we've got men and women in the fire service now, so it was trying not to smell like, I guess, pop puree, but also not smelling like, you know, like what is it, like smoke and whiskey barrels at the same time. Like, it was, it's trying. So it was a real challenge. So hopefully I've nailed that one, but I'll leave that up for everyone to decide.
Yeah, good. Well done. Thanks again, Dave. Really appreciate your time.
No worries, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening. If you've enjoyed this episode, please show your support by subscribing, liking, and rating the podcast on your listening and social media platforms. We are always looking to improve what we do. If you have feedback, suggestions for further guests, topics, or would like to be a guest yourself, please contact us via Instagram.